Wednesday. Welcome to another live in English to practice your English. Today we are going to talk about how to work successfully within an international environment, how to thrive and communicate successfully in English in an international environment. If you do not know me, my name is Aurélie, aka Oh Really, and I help business leaders, entrepreneurs, executives speak English confidently. And every Wednesday, I do live sessions so you can practice your English, so I can answer to common questions and also give you a space to interact live with me. You may ask me your questions or comment in the comment sections. I'll be happy to interact with you. You can do so in English or in French, it doesn't matter. I am open to both languages, of course, I guess. Um, so, yeah, welcome here. Get yourself comfortable. We're gonna get started and go directly straight to the point. 10 tips for working successfully in an international environment. Okay, let me check just if you can hear me. If the tech is good on LinkedIn, I guess it is. Then I'm just checking. Let's go. Okay, so my first tip, actually, based on my experience, so if you do not know me, I have an experience within an international environment. This is my whole life. I think I could be called. My name is Aurélie Ejijimo, but I could be called Aurélie Ejijimo International. Like my surname can be international or my nickname. It has been now 15 years that I've been in the international environment world, whether professionally or personally. I studied within international program, had professors and students from all over the world. I even volunteered abroad with an international team. On my daily basis, I have friends from all over the place. Anyway, so I know something about communication within an international environment, and it's important to be intentional if we don't want to have serious misunderstanding that can really harm our relationship and even our business. And the first thing I would like to tell you as an introduction is that communicating within an international environment is more than being able to speak English correctly. Um, it's There are other factors involved that matters maybe as much as your capacity to speak English, and that are often neglected when we think about working internationally. We mostly think about, oh, I need to practice my English. I need to get a better, acquire more vocabulary, more idioms, more, I don't know, mastering of English grammar. It's good to have ambitions, and if you want that, that's good for you. But you also need to take into account other culture and communication factors when it comes to working in international teams. Anyway, let's get down to business. Um, oh, hello. Thank you for your comment. Um, Thank you. I can't see your name. I see LinkedIn user because I think you are anonymous. This you can repair. You can do that in your settings. But thank you. Um, so where was I? My first tip, very important one, is to just be real, be yourself, be positive. And when you work in an international environment, people really appreciate when you are genuine, when you're real. Don't try to aim for perfection, aim for progress, for real connection, and really interest, like showing that you have interest for the other person. Listen carefully to the others, not just the words, but also the feelings. Take into account everything. Be a good listener. This is going to save you a lot. A good observer, being real. People will appreciate it, and it will make a difference in your communication. Make you a better um, communicator, English communicator within an international environment. So think about it yourself, your own experience with people talking English with you. You probably appreciate it better. People who are genuine, real, taking the time to listen to you, and really trying to connect with you. So be real, be yourself. Don't be scared to being yourself with your own character, the way you normally are. Very tip, a very important tip. Second tip is to remember that you will need to learn as you go and for you to be curious. It's very important if you want to thrive in an international environment to be curious and know that you can always learn more um, about a culture. And that also means that it's okay sometimes to make mistake. Expect making mistakes sometimes, in your way you connect and relate with other people and other cultures, but be open-minded and be curious about the other person. And how can you concretely do that? Be good at asking questions. This is something you'll need to do a lot. Ask questions when unsure, asking what the person means, like asking literally, what do you mean exactly by that? And when you said that, um, did you mean this or did you mean that? Double check the meaning, not only just for the English meaning, but the true meaning behind what the person wants to say. And this I learned, for example, when working with British people. um they are very polite, at least to me they are extremely polite, and they would say things like, I don't mind helping you. And at the beginning, I remember, like, more than 10 years ago, I took the person um by his word, like thinking that the person really didn't mind doing something, but actually the person didn't want to do it. But because of the way they speak with manners, and I understood the message in another way. So I had to learn to say, okay, what do you mean? Or ask questions. So do you want to do it, or would you prefer me doing it myself? Double check. And it doesn't make you look bad, or it doesn't mean that you can't speak English properly. It's just that you want to make sure you understand someone who has another culture than you. All right. So ask questions. You can even prepare yourself in advance, being comfortable with asking different types of questions. And also, I said, be curious in that tip, like learn as you go. Really, you can even research if you know your international environment, with which culture you're going to work with, and to know more about their customs, their way of working. Be curious and research as well, or ask people around you. And it's always nice, as I'm talking about learning, even though we're speaking English and English is like the global language, but it's always nice to say a little hello or thank you in the language of the person. This is my own trick. It's not really a trick, it's because I truly love learning languages and learning new cultures. But I remember one day I was working with Hungarians. I even went to Budapest in my life when I was working in an international organization. And I just knew like two words in Hungarian, but each time I said it, people would like smile and connect better with me, appreciate me better, just because I said thank you in Hungarian, köszönöm, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, learn as you go, be curious, be interested in other people's culture, and really ask questions. It's a good thing to double check the meaning, the true meaning, what the person means beyond just the literal English meaning of the words. Another tip number 3 to thrive working in an international environment is to investigate a little bit on the power dynamic. So this is a difficult word to pronounce. Every country has a different hierarchy. Um, so for some countries, for example, like India, you really need to respect the chain of levels, of hierarchy in the country, in the work environment, whereas in other countries it can be more informal, like in the UK, the bosses are closer to the other employees. And this is something you need to be aware of and look at the power dynamic, the hierarchies, where you work, how people call each other. So this is, as I said in the beginning, is beyond the capacity to speak English and communicate in an international environment. Is really the capacity to connect with the people you are working with. And this is something to look out, to watch out. Watch how other people interact with other people, how they interact with the leaders, and follow. So everything, all the tips are connected, as I said from the beginning. Be open, be curious, a good listener, observing how people interact. And when you are in doubt relating to how the power dynamics, how to speak to people, the safe way is to be more respectful than less respectful. And see, so I would like to give you an example. When I was working in Brussels, I was working in international NGOs, and we were working with a Spanish team. And Spanish people, at least to me, they seem to be more informal than Belgian, maybe, and maybe the French speaking culture. And at first, it felt strange to me because my boss was Spanish, based in Spain, and we would call him by his nickname. So instead of saying Mr., for example, Gomez, if this is his family name, if his name was Francisco, and we would call him Paco, which is the nickname for Francisco in Spanish. And this is the way people relate. Even though he was the big boss and he was like an important person, like the boss of an international organization and other international organizations. He was in charge of many things anyway, but still we would call him Paco by his nickname because that's how the Spanish culture works. They are more direct. In Spanish, I've observed that the Spanish people speak to each other in a certain way, more at the same level compared maybe to France or Belgium, even though it's changing a little bit. So how did I notice that? By observing and copying. So do the same. But watch out because you can have lots of misunderstandings. So this is why I've highlighted this element. If you want to thrive working in an international environment, look at the power dynamics, how you deal with hierarchies in a certain office context and see how it works. For example, I worked also in England, but the team was international, but still we would follow more the UK way of working. And again, the director was close to his people, and I would just follow, but go more on the edge of being more polite because sometimes I wasn't sure how I should connect to my boss, how I should talk to him. Tip number 4: to thrive working in English in an international environment. Very important element to pay attention to, which is the time, the notion of time in the environment you're about to work with. So, what am I referring to? The idea of being punctual or not, or flexible. This is very important because you can come across as rude. People may not want to work with you if you don't respect that, because this can be a very important factor. For example, Germany and the Netherlands is known to be punctual cultures. You need to be on time always, not 2 minutes late, but on time. Whereas you have other more flexible cultures like Spain or Brazil. Like, yeah, people appreciate if you're on time, but they can accept 2 minutes or 3 minutes of courtesy depending on the context. But this is something to respect and to investigate. So, as I said from the beginning, be curious about the culture, the international culture within which you're going to work with, even though it's international, depending on the setting. If you are going to work with a team based in Saudi Arabia, or a team based in the UK, or a team based in the US, or in Brussels, like my team, my experience, I worked in Brussels and in London, the dynamic and the culture will be different. So remember one tip I said earlier: ask questions to make sure um, you are on the same page as your team. Tip number five. I said five and thrive at the same time. Okay. Tip number 5 to thrive in an international environment, working in English in an international environment. Very important one. Drop your assumptions um, and create a safe spaces for honest talk. Uh, because the truth is, we all have like hidden biases. Like, we can be biased for certain things and have assumptions and think, okay, English, British people are like this, American are like this, I don't know, French people are like that. We all have assumptions, if we are honest, but drop them if you want to thrive, even though sometimes there may be a bit of truth in some of the things we may think about cultures. Like I just said, German, I punctual. It's true most of the time, but still drop your assumptions and again ask questions, important questions, such as how do you establish trust? What do you need for me to trust me? How can we work better together? Ask that all the time. How can we be more efficient together? Don't assume things. Really ask the team, the colleagues, the client, the prospect with whom you're about to work questions, open questions. It's better to clarify things from the beginning than having misunderstanding later. Right? For instance, some cultures, they may appreciate better if you do everything by mostly by email. People would have Other cultures would expect to do more meetings. So these are things you need to discuss openly. All right. So that was tip number 5. Tip number 6, which is kind of a summary of what I'm saying so far. To thrive, to work successfully in an international environment, is to ask clear questions and stop guessing. Start asking. Use simple and clear questions. So, why did I do a tip, like a separate tip for that, even though I've been repeating that kind of? Because to stress the importance of it. And I would like to give you some concrete examples. So, I've prepared here. So, for example, soon, the word soon. If someone tells you, we need to do that as soon as possible, or we need to do that soon. Maybe you understand soon in English, you know what it means. But since we are working in an international environment, maybe the idea of soon may be different from one culture to another. So ask clear questions. have that habit to ask, okay, when you say soon, what do you mean? Like soon as in tomorrow, as in next week? Like, have the habit of clarifying some concepts like that, like soon. Um, or when someone asks you to finish a certain task, what do you mean by finish? Like, what do you expect when you want a finished product or project or task? You mean you want me to do everything or have a first draft? These types of questions are important. And asking question like, is there anything else I should know in order to deliver this assignment or whatever? And this will allow you to prevent 90% of misunderstandings, right? And I like to give you an example again. When I was working in Brussels and we had that team in Spain, we had lots of misunderstanding because of these kind of concepts like soon, quick, or finished. So some maybe I would expect them to, when they said finished, to have a real finished product. If we had to write report, for example, I had to write lots of reports. So sometimes we had misunderstandings because I'd expect them to finish writing the report, but it would be a draft that still had to be corrected by several people from the team. And this really happens. So it's important to communicate. And in that way, we are more efficient. And that's what we want, right? Tip number 7. Oh, this tip is close to me. It is master direct versus indirect communication. So again, it comes back to the first tip of being curious, learning about the cultures you're going to be working with, and see how they communicate. And that's one element you need to look at, whether they have a more direct style or indirect style. Some cultures will go more, get straight to the point. Other cultures are more indirect style when it comes to communicating. So bear in mind this factor when you want to thrive working in an international environment with international colleagues, teams, and in your communication with them. Because some people may think you're rude if you go straight to the point, when actually that's just the way you are. And this is connected to the next tip. That's why I'm going to share it with you. Tip number 8, you need to master also small talk and social interactions, and not underestimating those, because, for example, in, I would say, British culture and also American culture, you do lots of small talks, especially in business context, including you talk about the weather, about the news, like random things that are not very important, but they are important in order to have this more, sometimes maybe indirect style, where you don't go straight to the point directly. And if you don't do that, you have a meeting, let's say, with a person from the UK, and you go straight to the point, you may look as rude or someone that is not friendly just because you didn't do that small talk. So tip number 8, master those social cues, and they are very important. Actually, I was impressed when I started working in international environments. We had lots of international conferences to come into agreements for common goals, to do reports together. I was working in the legal sector, and very important, fancy meetings. But I realized that most of the deals and the connections, professional ones, happened when we were chit chatting, when we were at the restaurant after a conference, in between meetings. So you will need to, if you want to work in an international environment, is to build on your soft skills, get better at that, work on that, be aware that they are also important. So I'd like to give you some examples about what I mean also by mastering small talk and social interactions. So the importance, as I said, of those lunch, those little conversations, but also being aware of whether it's okay to eat alone at your desk in some international environment, if you meet people face to face. What does it mean for that culture, work culture or not? And also just respecting social rules and being aware um, of them. Um, and ask questions, observe, and see. Tip number 9, to thrive working in an international environment. Whoa, sorry. So we're getting to the end, but be patient with yourself and flexible. Be patient with others as well. Um, some cultures need more patience, maybe more thinking time as well. And be ready to adapt. Sometimes you may not like the way a culture works, and also be humble, not always thinking that your ways, because you're used to working in a certain way and it works for you, you're efficient, maybe the way you work, but be humble and embracing and also respecting other ways of working, being patient with them. And again, coming back to that first tip, being genuine in building a true relationship, a respectful relationship as well. Um, so finding that balance, because I also said at the beginning, being yourself, but also respecting the other, and while meeting your common goal at the end, and considering different factors like preferring emails, preferring face-to-face meetings or not, the speed of decision making, the style of doing meetings, considering all of these and being patient. Last but not least, um, connected to my first tip, is to really try to build relationship with the team, your international team, and seeking how to do that. If it's, for example, for some culture, doing it by phone calls is totally fine. For other culture, it's important to um, meet maybe outside an office environment. How can you stay in touch with that culture, with your people, and build this relationship, um, long lasting, successful, efficient, meaningful relationship? And then if you do that, you will finally have what we are looking for here: successful work in an international environment. So those were my 10 tips. I hope they were useful. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. You can reach out to me in private message as well. I'll be happy to talk to you. But for now, I'll call it a day. And I thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me today. And I'll see you next week at 1 p.m.